Whitehall 1212.
This is Scotland Yard.
For the first time in its history, Scotland Yard opens its official files to bring you the true stories of some of its most celebrated cases.
These are the true stories, the plain, unvarnished facts just as they occurred, reenacted for you by a British cast. Only the names, for obvious reasons, have been changed. The stories are presented with the full cooperation of Scotland Yard.
Research for Whitehall 1212 is finished by Percy Hoskins, chief crime reporter of the London Daily Express. The stories for radio are written and directed by Wyllis Cooper. You will now hear from the man in charge of Scotland Yard's famous Black Museum, Chief Superintendent John Davidson.
Good afternoon. This is not, for a change, a murder weapon, but through its use, a murderer was brought to book. It is normally a most innocuous article, innocent, and in its way useful. You do recognize it, do you not? Of course, it's a blotting pad. Regrettably, magenta in color. Big enough to hide a newspaper beneath it, if one wishes to hide a newspaper. You find blotters like this on desks in the writing rooms of small hotels in Britain. And strangely enough, that is where Superintendent Edward Weston found this one. I shall ask Superintendent Weston to tell you about it. Edward?
On the eve of the August Bank Holiday weekend in 1931, July 31st to be precise, since the holiday itself was to be Monday the 3rd of August, and I was planning to spend it at Stonehenge on Salisbury Plain, I was notified that I was wanted for the investigation of a murder at Oxford. I sighed regretfully over the departed thoughts of Stonehenge and the Friar's Heel, said yes, sir, quite politely, and was told I would hear shortly from a man in Oxford and put up the telephone. It immediately rang again. Superintendent Weston?
It is Arthur Hughes speaking to you, sir, from Oxford. And I am a scout at Jesus College, and my dear sister Megan has been murdered, Superintendent. They said to me Superintendent Weston will come, and indeed I am sick with horror.
What's that?
I am Arthur Hughes speaking to you from Oxford, and...
You're the man who was to call me.
Yes, indeed, I was told to call you, sir.
It was your sister?
Oh, my. Yes, indeed, she has been murdered, sir. And,
Who murdered her?
I don't know, sir. I was told you were coming here.
You're in Oxford? Tell me where to come in Oxford.
It is a cottage called the Boundary, sir. It is in St. Clement Street.
St. Clement Street.
Yes, sir. It's really the London road where it crosses the Infree Road and the High Street near Magenta Bridge, sir.
I'll find it. Will you be there?
I shall be here, Superintendent, with my dear sister. There is also a policeman here.
I took the midnight train, which deposited me in the university city before daylight. I found the cottage near Magenta Bridge without much difficulty. Arthur Hughes was there, uncomfortable in a stiff chair beside the door. The constable was frankly asleep. I identified myself to Hughes, and we went inside.
She's in here, sir.
Where?
I have lifted away 3 of the cushions, sir, on the tablecloth. She was completely hidden under them. I came to the house, sir. Wait. I will turn on another light.
Yes, that's better, thank you. Is it your usual custom to come here?
We had intended to spend the holiday together, sir. I came to take her to the train.
And this is the way you found her?
Yes, sir. Under this pile of cushions and this tablecloth. I lifted her
You
off
said
and,
that?
Yes, sir. I did indeed. And this is the way I found her, sir.
Moved anything?
No, sir, I am not. The house is exactly the same as it was. The medical man barely touched her. He did not need to, as you can see from her head. My poor sister.
Yes.
Have
you any idea?
I have none.
What's your business? Profession?
I'm a scout at Jesus College.
A scout?
I think I told you. That is the accepted term here in the university for personal servants, sir. I am a young man from Carnarvon. A fine nonconformist young gentleman.
Welsh?
Yes, sir. A great many of the scholars at Jesus College are Welsh, sir.
You're Welsh, too?
My sister and I come from Pontypridd in Glamorganshire, sir.
Yes. You were on good terms with your sister, of course.
I was that. I love my sister dearly.
And you say you have no suspicions?
I have not, sir. If I could think who in the world had done this, my hands would be at his throat this very minute. I should not be here, I assure you.
I think the first thing to do is to remove your sister's body to the mortuary, Mr. Hughes.
That is well thought of, Superintendent. If I waken the constable at the door...
Please do so.
So I will, then.
An ambulance was duly fetched. We removed the cushions which had been placed on top of the body, which was forthwith taken away, and Hughes and I devoted ourselves to an examination of the room.
To me, it is quite evident that my sister was taken by surprise.
What makes you think that?
First, there on the sideboard is a small nosegay of flowers from her garden. Every morning, my dear sister took a nosegay to the grave of our sister Maud. She has not missed one morning in the 11 years since Maud died. If the flowers are still here, then...
Yes. Anything else?
You can see through this door, the room in which my dear sister slept. Please notice that her bed is only half made.
Yes, I see.
And in the scullery, here are her breakfast dishes, still unwashed. She would never leave them that way.
Yes.
And here is her new vacuum cleaner. She left that, too.
Yes, but the vacuum cleaner isn't connected up.
Huh?
You see, the flex isn't plugged in. She wasn't using it.
There is something strange about that.
And what's that?
She always vacuumed the house in the afternoon, not in the morning. She was a creature of inflexible habits, was my dear sister.
I don't think I follow you, Mr. Hughes.
It is quite evident she was interrupted this morning by the bed and the breakfast dishes, and the vacuum cleaner should not be here.
Sure you didn't put it there yourself?
Of course not, sir. Why should I?
Sure, I don't know.
It was there when I came in. The door was unlatched, and there it was. And she was lying here under this great pile of... Ah!
What now?
That's not my sister's vacuum cleaner.
Whose is it, then? Whose is it, can you tell?
It looks ever so much like the one she bought last Lady Day.
Last of March.
But it seems different somehow.
Huh.
I don't know. I was here with her when the man delivered it to her, but...
No, but I think...
No, sir.
I think you're dotty.
Wouldn't she be doing with a vacuum cleaner in the morning?
I'll have a look in the dust bag to see if she was using it. Although how she'd use it without connecting it.
The dust bag? That's what's different.
Different?
Quite right, sir. I've seen this vacuum cleaner a dozen times, and the dust bag dark red. Just like the one I have at Mr. Morgan's room at college.
The dust bag's a peculiarly hideous shade of cerulean, Mr. Hughes.
Yeah?
Blue. Sky blue. Well, darker than sky blue, but it's blue.
How could it turn blue, sir?
I don't know. Are you sure you're not mistaken that it hasn't always been blue?
I was here, I say, when it was delivered. And it was red. It was red yesterday, sir.
Then what's happened to it? Has it been changed?
It's been changed.
Oh, no. Well, why should she change it?
My sister? She could not change it herself. She couldn't mend a saucepan.
Well, who changed it then?
Besides, where would she be getting another dust bag? This blue one.
From the vacuum cleaner shop.
There is no vacuum cleaner shop here in Oxford. She bought it from a peddler.
Would you recognize this peddler if you saw him? You've seen him before, have you not?
He's such a nice, pleasant young man. So quiet. Eh? Yes, I have seen him, but...
What's his name, do you know?
No, I do not. No, Superintendent. I do not think I ever heard it.
Do you know where he lives?
I'm sorry, I do not know that either.
Well...
I'm sorry. Yes?
Well, we have no idea that he's even been in Oxford. Since he sold your sister that machine, if that is the machine he sold her.
It is the machine. Do you see where the enamel has been knocked off the front of the thing?
Mm-hmm.
That happened the very day he fetched the machine. He knocked it against the door whistle, and he let my sister have it for $1 less because of the damage. Oh, yes, I know that machine. It is indeed the same one.
Except the dust bag.
Yes. Look here, Superintendent. It is daylight outside now.
Well?
I could go out and wake up some of the neighbors of my sister and ask them if they have seen this peddler here today. Yesterday. For now, it is tomorrow.
Huh. You know the neighbors?
Indeed.
And do then. Go and ask. I'll go over to the police station and see what I can learn. Then I'll return if you've learned anything.
Shall I come after you, sir, or will you return here?
Better come to the station, Mr. Hughes.
Yes, sir.
And if I'm not there...
Yes, sir.
I'll be at the mortuary. But you wouldn't want to come there, I suppose.
And why not, sir? My dear sister is there, is she not?
They could tell me little at the police station, except that a neighbour's child had mentioned having seen a man undescribed at the door of Miss Hughes' cottage, the Boundary, sometime during the previous morning. The man appeared, the child said, to be carrying a large parcel done up in green paper. And further, the child said nothing, and the man was seen no more, according to the best reports. Was this the mysterious assailant, thought I, and repaired to the mortuary. It was too early in the morning for the medical examiner to be there, but having attained access to the dreary place, I examined the dead woman's body myself. I thought she had been beaten about the head with some sort of blunt instrument. There was a fearful wound in the back of her head, sufficient, in my opinion, to have caused death. In addition, there was an incised wound in her neck, which alone could have caused death. She had apparently been dead for some 24 hours, which would have put the time of the assault, as we had supposed, about Friday morning. She had bled copiously, with dried blood adhering to her head and neck. No other wounds were visible. I returned to the Boundary Cottage in St. Clement's Street and was surprised to hear voices issuing from the cottage. I entered.
I looked at it when I came, and about 10 pounds and all that was gone. But my dear sister is dead.
Thought she'd get more money than that here, Mrs. Hughes.
I do not know.
Oh, come.
Well, good morning.
Good morning, Superintendent.
Morning, Mr. Hughes. Good morning, madam.
Hello.
This lady is Miss Dora Abernathy, sir.
I am one of Miss Hughes' neighbours, sir. I live at the bottom of St. Clement's Street.
Mrs. Abernathy has been a close friend of my dear sister for many years, sir. This is Superintendent Weston from Scotland Land, Mrs. A.
Are you an inspector, sir?
A superintendent, madam.
Superintendent, Mrs. A.
Oh, I thought everyone from Scotland Yard is an inspector, sir. Forgive me.
Not all of us, madam.
Mrs. A saw the man indeed, Superintendent.
You did, huh?
He stayed at my house overnight, sir.
Did Mr. A object then?
Oh, you know Abernathy, Mr. Hughes. He's seen the day when he hadn't the price of a night's lodging either.
You're speaking of this vacuum cleaner peddler, I assume.
Yes, sir, Inspector.
Superintendent.
Oh, yes, Superintendent.
He was here, then?
At least in the city, sir.
The little girl told the police she saw him here, or saw a man at any rate, yesterday morning.
Oh.
You may interview the child later, Mrs. Abernathy, and see the child description tallies with that of the peddler.
Who is the child, sir?
I believe her name is Daphne Cubbins. Cubbins?
Oh,
Cubbins?
I trust Elsie Cubbins is young, and even if they have got one of them pongeranium dogs always nipping the postman.
You said this peddler stayed the night at your house, Mrs. Abernathy.
Yes, sir, he did.
Oh, you know him that well, then?
Well, sir, not precisely. He sold Abernathy and me a vacuum cleaner like Miss Hughes is, sir.
Oh.
And he showed up yesterday afternoon.
Not yesterday afternoon, Mrs. A. It was the day before, you said to me.
Oh, yes, that's right, Mr. Hughes. The day Abernathy was at the doctor's for his blood pressure. Thursday, while Abernathy was at the doctor's for that matter, and he said he was in the city and had I any complaints about my vacuum cleaner. I said no, and I offered him a cup of tea as a matter of course. Oh, Superintendent, did you ever drink Lapsang Souchong tea like Mr. Churchill drinks?
I didn't know Mr. Churchill drank tea.
Abernathy's cousin, who's a sergeant in the Royal Corps at Caterers, says he does. And when they hadn't any Lapsang Souchong at Aldershot, when Abernathy's cousin was there, Mr. Churchill had to drink brandy. So I bought 2 ounces by mail from Fortnum and Mason to try. It costs a fright, but Abernathy likes it. Well, Mr. Podmore came in.
Who's Mr. Podmore?
The gentleman who sold me the vacuum cleaner. And we drank Lapsang Souchong. I'm not chucking my weight about, sir, as the bus used to say. It's really very good, although expensive. Smoky. And then he looked at me, and I could see tears in his great brown eyes. He's a very handsome man, is Mr. Podmore.
Yes, that's, sir. Quite good looking.
It's very likely he murdered your sister. Go on, Mrs. Abernathy. Why was Mr. Podmore weeping?
He finally came out with it. He'd lost his money. Well, I just couldn't stand it. I went to the tin we got the lap sand soup in, and I took out part of the money I didn't there, and then I handed it to him. Here, Mr. Podmore, I said, accept this as a loan until you find your money.
How much did you be lending him then?
4 bob, I think it was, and 6pence.
And when did he pay it back, Mrs. A?
He didn't have a chance, Mr. Hughes. When he left in the morning, he forgot it. He'll pay it back.
Oh, indeed.
Tell me, Mrs. Abernathy, he took the money.
Yes, but there was no bus to Tame that late in the afternoon, you see, sir.
He was going to Tame then?
Tame, yes, Mr. Hughes, he said. Tame is only about 12 miles away, sir.
Yes, I know.
Would he be there now, Mrs. A? We could go there and fetch him, I would think, sir.
We'll wait, Mr. Hughes. Then did you show him to his room?
No, sir. He said there was some business still to be done, and he went out. And then he came back, and he was carrying a parcel.
Done up in green paper.
Like the ironmonger he uses, sir. How did you know?
And what was in this parcel?
Oh, I don't know, sir. He kept it in his hand.
And when he came back, he went to bed.
After we had a nice cold supper,
And
sir.
he kept the parcel with him when he retired.
Yes, sir, and then when he went out this morning.
And didn't come back?
He said he needed a shave. As he did indeed, sir. He was bearded like a prophet, sir.
And didn't come back?
I think he forgot about my 4 and 6 and caught a bus to Tame like he said. There's one about noon, sir. Or maybe he'll send it to me from there.
Wager he won't.
Is there a police station in Tame?
In Tame, sir?
I think so, sir.
Oh, but I'll get my money back. I don't want to have the police talking to Mr. Podmore about that, sir.
Nevertheless, the police are going to talk to him, Mrs. Abernathy. But not about that, I can assure you. Before I talked to the police at Tame, I asked some other questions in Oxford of the ironmonger.
Yes, I know the bloke that was peddling vacuum cleaners here. Cost me money, too, he did. I sell vacuum cleaners myself. But I've no cheap hire purchase arrangements like he has. I think it was rare cheek, him coming into my place yesterday to buy a hammer and a chisel from me. Though he did pay me.
That was my money. Abernathy'll skin me.
And the barber, Dusty Miller.
He was pointed out to me more than once, this peddler. Podmore, he calls himself. As he walked into my place of business yesterday morning, carrying a green paper parcel that clanked and a set of ginger whiskers down to his collar button. I shaved him, never asking to see the colour of his money, and he gave me my 6pence, all right. It's the last copper I've got, he says, with a great horrid laugh, and pops off. And didn't I see him 2 hours later, as drunk as a duke in Charlie Wilson's public house, and offering to buy me beer? Of course he had money, the best part of £10, all tied up with a black and white checkered hair ribbon. And when I said, "You've got money now," didn't he say, "I've been visiting a lady"?
My dear sisters, the £10 was tied up with a black and white checkered hair ribbon she wore when she was a small child in Pontypridd, in Glamorganshire.
Hello. It's Superintendent Weston of Scotland Yard speaking. Please put me through to the police station in Tame.
Tame, which is a country town of about 3,000 population, is about 12 miles north of the city of Oxford. It is a typical small English country town, too close to the other largest cities to have retained its ancient importance as a market town.
I had taken into consideration that visitors are comparatively rare in Tame. After asking the Tame authorities to report to me at Oxford by telephone, I asked to be put through to Aylesbury.
Aylesbury, just across the border between Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire, is a town of nearly 30,000. It is a well-known centre for straw and laces and is a municipal borough, the capital of the county of Buckinghamshire. Travellers by bus from Oxford to Aylesbury transfer at Tame, a few miles away.
As I anticipated, Tame knew nothing about a vacuum cleaner salesman in Podmore on answering to the meagre description I was about to give them. Aylesbury was more reassuring, however, and about midnight August 1st, the first day of the bank holiday weekend, I received a telephone call from Sergeant Urquhart there.
Detective Sergeant Urquhart, yes, sir, at Aylesbury. Now, sir, so far as we've been able to discover, your man is not in Aylesbury.
Oh, too bad.
Well, sir, we're not sure he hasn't been here.
What's that?
perhaps I should say, sir, we are sure he has been here.
Oh, good then, I hope.
Yes, sir, he was here. We're reasonably sure. At least a vacuum cleaner salesman was here, but his name seems to have been Hughes.
Hughes?
Yes, sir.
Arthur Hughes, sir.
Arthur Hughes.
My name.
I think that's our man, Sergeant. Is he still there, then?
Sir, I think my Uncle Dan has done a terrible thing.
Your Uncle Dan? What's your Uncle Dan got to do with it?
Well, sir, he owns the hotel where the man was staying, sir.
What did he do?
He chucked the beggar out, sir.
What? Why?
What's the matter, sir?
Why? Tell me that, Sergeant.
Well, sir, this Hughes was here the other day, and he went away yesterday without bothering to pay his bill, you see. And he came back this afternoon on the bus from Tame, and he came back to my Uncle Dan's hotel as big as life and asked for his room back again.
Did he get it?
Yes, sir. The clerk gave it to him. And then my Uncle Dan found out about it, and he went to this vacuum cleaner fella's room, and he said, quite properly, I'll have my money now, if you please, mister. And the vacuum cleaner man said, I haven't any money, and he didn't, so my uncle chucked him out, and where he is now, I don't know.
Your Uncle Dan? Isn't he at the hotel?
The vacuum cleaner man, sir.
He's gone?
Yes, sir. He seems to be.
Well,
What is it now, sir?
he's gone.
Oh.
You don't know where he is?
Well, his suitcase is at the hotel, sir. He brought it in with him when he came back, and Uncle Dan made him leave it there, sir.
Tell him to keep it there. Do you hear me, Sergeant?
Yes, sir, I hear you. Yes, sir, yes, I'll tell him. What do you want me to do then, sir?
Put your uncle in jail.
What? Oh.
Come on with me, Mr. Hughes.
Indeed to goodness, sir. Where are we going then, Superintendent?
We're going to Aylesbury. I think we found the man that murdered your sister. In the hotel room at Aylesbury, we found the suitcase in the room where the guest had left it when he had been told he was no longer welcome. Arthur Hughes watched me as I opened it, watched me as I lifted it up and turned it over.
What is that?
This hammer.
This is a chisel.
That is what he bought at the ironmonger's then.
That's where one buys things like this.
Why did he carry things like this about with him then? Are these the tools of a vacuum cleaner salesman?
If you will pardon me, I should say they are the tools of
Oh,
the murderer.
no.
Oh, yes.
Do you suppose that my sister... Tell me.
I don't know.
Look. What's this?
What?
These. What are these? Breadcrumbs on the floor here. Did they not fall out of the suitcase too?
Wonder what they are. Here, look at the hammer.
What?
The label's been scraped off the handle.
How shall we tell that it is the hammer he bought? How shall we tell it was his?
I think I know why the hammerhead's so clean.
Why is it?
It had blood on it.
Oh, please. My poor sister.
And the chisel? Mm-hmm. It's clean, too.
Quite clean.
You'd have to have it clean.
If indeed he is the man who did it.
We can't prove he's the one.
No.
Not yet.
My poor sister.
We only knew where he is.
Yes, if we could find him.
I wonder if he gave an address when he came here the first time.
I could not tell, I'm afraid.
He wrote any letters or anything. Who would that be?
I don't know that either, Superintendent.
Come in, please. Yes?
I'm Sergeant Urquhart, sir, of the Buckinghamshire Constabulary, Aylesbury Station, sir. I talked to you...
About time you got here. Where's your uncle?
You said arrest him, sir. What shall I do?
Let him out.
Yes, sir. And then?
Wait, Sergeant. I want to find this man.
Hughes, sir?
I'm Hughes, officer.
Are you the... Well, isn't he... Oh. I beg your pardon, sir.
What I want to know is, did this man who called himself Hughes give any address when he came here? Or did he write any letters? Did he say anything about where he lives?
I don't know, sir, but we could ask the attendant in the commercial room next door. So it's where letters are generally written, sir.
Come along, then. Come along, Mr. Hughes.
Yes, sir.
Through that door, sir.
This one?
Yes, sir.
Come along.
Joe! Joe! Joe? He isn't here, sir. He's left for the bank holiday, I fancy, sir.
I say.
Here, these blotters.
On the table, sir.
on the table.
Well, that's where the guests generally block their letters, sir.
How convenient. Have you got a mirror, Sergeant?
Mirror, sir?
Mirror. Looking glass. A mirror, man.
There's one on the wall, sir.
There is indeed, sir. Shall I take it down?
I'll get it, sir.
Oh, don't drop the blasted thing. I'll look out, I tell you.
I've got it, sir. What do you want me to do with it?
See these signatures on the blotter?
They're reversed, sir. That's a characteristic.
Look in the mirror.
Oh, I can read them now, sir.
Can you, then?
I can read them too, sir. Look, dearest neighbor.
Better not bother with that one. What's this one say?
Dear Uncle Dan. Oh, I wrote that myself. I can't read that one either, sir.
Read all the others and write them down.
Perhaps one of them is this.
Well, sir.
I want them all copied down, and I want every one of them investigated, Sergeant.
And if one of them is the man that murdered my sister...
Someone murder your sister, mate?
If we find him, I will kill him with my own hands.
Oh, no, you won't, mate.
I swear I will.
Don't struggle, mate. We'll hang him.
And when I went back to the other room and sat down, my eye fell on the curious objects that had fallen out of the suitcase I was already beginning to think of as the murderers. The things that looked like, as Hughes had said, breadcrumbs. I picked one up. It wasn't a breadcrumb. It was a tightly rolled wad of paper. Curiously, I dipped it into a glass of water. It opened up like a tiny flower petal, and I saw printing on it. I opened it up. I reached for another and repeated the performance. Another. Same results. I put them all together after a manner of a jigsaw puzzle. The printing was clear now. High-grade steel forging. And there was something else, too. Bloodstains. There on the missing labels from the hammer and the chisel from the man who came to change the dust back on the vacuum cleaner in the house of the little old lady in St. Clement's Street. I hardly noticed when the sergeant and the brother came in with the list of addresses they had copied from the reflection of the names on the blotter. But 4 weeks later, when all the addresses had been checked by policemen working round the clock, there was one of them where a man named Podmore lived, and he was an itinerant salesman of vacuum cleaners. And when the time came, he confessed, and at the Oxford Assizes next spring, he was sentenced to hang. And hang he did. And Arthur Hughes smiled when he heard about it.
Heard on Whitehall 1212 today, Lester Fletcher as Superintendent Weston. Others in the order of their appearance, Harvey Hayes, Gwillem Williams, Patricia Courtley, Gordon Stern, and Guy Spall. This is Lionel Rico speaking. Whitehall 1212 is written and directed by Wyllis Cooper.